I'm really excited to talk to Tonia Galati today. Tonia, tell us in your own words a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm Tonia. I am founder and CEO of TG Consulting, which is a education consultancy that we set up 2 weeks before COVID hit the UK. The focus of the business is working with education and employers to create opportunities for students from underrepresented groups and disadvantaged backgrounds. So students are the beneficiaries of what we do. In terms of my background, I've worked within higher education and within a couple of professional bodies as well. And I've always been focused on partnership creation. So it was kind of a natural transition into setting up my own business.
Tonia, I know that you're an award-winning entrepreneur. You've written a book, you're a podcaster. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I wouldn't say my journey's been linear. I've kind of always fallen into stuff. So when I left university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I kind of fell into a couple of roles. And then I found this job at a university, which was all about supporting individuals who were facing barriers to employment. And I remember that when I was at school and university, I never felt like I belonged in a situation. I always kind of felt out of place. So I thought, actually, that would be really cool to work with students who probably feel like I felt. And from the minute I started, it just felt like a hobby. I absolutely loved the work. It was really, really rewarding. I had a significant episode of depression, so clinically depressed, and I had a long amount of time off work, and it kind of made me reevaluate what I wanted to do. And it was at that point when I decided, actually, I kind of want to take control of my working life, decide what I do, when I work, that kind of thing. So I opted for redundancy and decided to set up my business doing what I love and creating a culture where everybody can just be themselves, be authentic. And we have a very open culture where everyone is just, this is me, this is how I'm feeling. And it's great. We have a fantastic time. We recruit students. So we've had about 100 students within the last 3 years that have come to work with us, that have helped to basically build the business.
Tonia, tell us a little bit more in detail. How do you create such an inclusive work environment where you really create space for everybody?
Well, from when individuals start, we actively recruit those who may lack confidence or may never have had professional work. So from the start, we're very much open in our approach to say, actually, we really want to support anyone who feels that they need the support. And then from the start, from the induction, it's very much, everyone's encouraged to be themselves and be honest. And I'm very open as well. So when we have team meetings, if I'm having a not great day, I will say, I'm not having a great day. This is how I feel. And it kind of then encourages everybody else to be authentic as well. And I think I've always been quite open anyway, in terms of not necessarily with my feelings, but more around, if I speak to a client and they say, oh, we'd love to do this, I've been very open in saying, well, maybe that's not quite the right direction. Let's go in a different way. So the business, in terms of the culture, but also how we operate, is built on everyone just saying it as it is and kind of not sugarcoating anything. So yeah, it's kind of worked really, really well. And everybody works remotely, and it's really, really successful.
Tonia, explain to us a little bit more what a typical project from your consultancy would be about.
Oh, so we don't have a typical project. Everything's kind of different and bespoke, and we build our products around the client. So we know that not every university is the same, not all of their students are the same. But an example of some of what we've done is we're the providers of the largest student mock assessment centre in the UK, for example. So we support over 3,000 students through a mock assessment centre. We've also developed a social mobility development programme, which we've co-created with students. So a lot of what we do is we use students to work with us to help co-create the product and the solution. So An example of that is our book, for example, The Truth Behind the Filter, where we worked with 50 students who've shared their stories of overcoming challenges and adversity. So they became published authors, but then it's also now a toolkit that other universities and students can buy to help them kind of get some reassurance and help with feelings of isolation and belonging.
Tonia, that's so inspiring. Thank you for explaining that. Tonia, what would you say is the thing that motivates you most?
I've always been motivated by helping people. So when I was at school, the careers advisor back in the day, you had to enter some questions online and it kind of printed out this piece of paper that told you what you would be. And the top thing said careers advisor. And at the time I was like, I don't want to be a careers advisor. But the second thing was kind of counselor. So I've always kind of been interested in helping people, problem solving, I guess. So my motivator and the reason why I do what I do is I just love making a difference and helping people to reach their potential. And there's nothing more rewarding than working with a student who comes to you and goes, oh my God, I've got a job, or, you know, oh my God, can you believe this person said that they wanted, you know, to talk to me? And it's kind of helping people to realize their potential is what motivates me.
Tonia, and what would you say is the quality that you have which makes you successful or makes you successful as a founder, as a CEO, an entrepreneur?
I mean, I wouldn't have said this before I set up my own business, but now having set up my business and gone through COVID and various other challenges, I think I'd say my superpower is probably I'm quite resilient. So if there's a problem, I always find a way to fix it, or I always find a solution. And we've had some major challenges as a business over the last 3 years, but it's kind of, I've always thought I'm going to win this. I'm going to kind of solve this and kind of get to the other side. So I think, yeah, my resilience and my drive, I guess. But I think when you own a business, it's kind of, that's a natural thing because it's your baby, isn't it? And you want it to work.
Yes, but I think that you must have this trust in yourself that takes you to the other side, because I can't imagine what happens to a business such as yours in during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks before COVID, I thought this will be a great decision. Did all the due diligence, but who would have known that COVID would have, you know, hit us like it did? And actually, it meant that I had to pivot the business. So rather than, you know, my original decision was I will freelance on my own, but instead what I ended up doing was setting up a limited company with multiple income streams and creating new products and services. But I just think in that moment, or when a problem hits you, you can't dwell on, oh my God, it's kind of right, this has happened, what's the solution? Because otherwise you don't move forward. And also, you know, you've got that responsibility of, you've got employees, you've got people that need to be paid who are also looking at you for that energy and that drive and that inspiration. So if I don't stay positive and kind of bring the energy, then there's no reason for them to do so either. So I think whilst COVID was horrendous, everything happens for a reason. And I think we are where we are because of that. So part of our success is because of the push that COVID gave us to think differently.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think that's absolutely right. Tonia, what would your top tips be for maybe younger girls coming out of university, looking for jobs? What would you tell them?
I think my advice would be just be you and don't pretend to be somebody that you're not to fit into a certain environment. You know, there's been massive growth in jobs, particularly within engineering, technology, for example, which are often, you know, very male dominated. And I think it's often, you know, there's a pressure to kind of, oh, I've got to pretend that I'm a leader, I'm really outspoken. And actually, you don't have to do that. I think employers don't want everybody to be the same. They like difference. And I think it's really important that as a female, you celebrate your differences and who you are. And if you have overcome challenges and adversities, that's okay. That's what makes you you. And you should bring that as part of your story. And I think the other thing I'd recommend or advise is just kind of look at how far you've come. So yes, we're all on a journey, but sometimes we don't acknowledge how far we've come and what we've achieved. And I think sometimes we need to take stock of that as part of our journey, because that will also motivate us to move forward.
Thank you for these excellent tips, Tonia. What are your goals, your plans, your dreams? Where are you heading?
Well, we've just turned 3 actually, just in our fourth year of operating, and I think what I would love is to grow the business. Obviously, we are growing slowly, but I'd love to grow the business and potentially have presence overseas at some point. But I'd really, really love to kind of do more of what we do at scale, work with more employers, small employers, corporates, and also work across more institutions. So I think it's an exciting time of growth for us. I just want to make sure that we grow and we do things properly. So I'm steadily cautious, but my dreams are just to continue growing the business, really.
Thank you so much for talking to me today, Tonia, with so much excellent feedback and advice.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, for having me.